Tuesday, June 12th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review the crazy war game, Twilight Struggle. Let's do this.
Man, we've talked about this before, but we were in Rochester over the weekend for a wedding, which was awesome. But Millennium Games in Rochester is still far and away the best gaming store I've ever seen or heard of in my entire life.
Is it technically in Henrietta? Or is it?
Well, yeah, it's in Henrietta, I guess, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Rochester.
matter. It's Rochester. It's a suburb of Rochester is Rochester. But
yeah, it was like Anime Central was actually in Rosemont, but it's in Chicago.
yeah. And PenguinCon is in Detroit, even though it's in Novi.
Well, no, PenguinCon advertised itself as Novi, and Novi is pretty separate from Detroit.
Anyway, it counts as Detroit. Anyway.
Not really.
Point is, Millennium is an awesome store. You see, Millennium Games and Hobbies is a store that it only sells games, unlike a lot of other gaming stores, which tend to be general nerdiness stores. They sell, all sorts of nerdy stuff, including, baseball cards, comic books, toys. Millennium sells board games, RPGs, miniatures games, and CCGs.
Well, they used to have, back in the day, a small modeling and rocket section that looks like it disappeared.
Yeah, that pretty much disappeared. And now they still have, the paints and that sort of stuff for miniatures, but not so much the modeling action. But yeah, Millennium is just the awesomest store. I mean, I don't know. I guess I went to that Complete Strategist in New York City, and they might have had a slightly better selection of the board games, just because it was stacked from floor to ceiling with multiple copies of everything.
Yeah, they also had a lot of the old stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Compared to what pretty much any gaming store has.
But Millennium is just a better store in every way, mostly because it has room to walk around and look at things.
Plus, it is incredibly rare that I've ever walked into a Millennium Game, well, the Millennium Games, and not seen at least the game I wanted, or if not the actual game I wanted, another game worth buying.
Yep. Yeah, I went into that store, and since I'd been out of that store for so long, I was like, God damn, and I wanted to buy like 6 or 7 games. I couldn't make up my mind.
So in the end, I was going to buy one game, and just got this one game. And I guess he's the owner now. I don't know what the deal is.
No, that guy's not the owner. He's probably just like the, one of the managers.
Yeah, he's deaf because I see him there every time I go. And this time, I guess he recognized that we kind of brought this whole crew in with us. And he ends up offering us a discount.
Yep.
Which meant we just bought a bunch more games. And then he happened to have Las Citas that we've been looking for forever.
He's like, we were about to check out, and he's like, yeah, if there's any out-of-print games you want. And I'm like, oh, I remember an out-of-print game I want, La Cita. And he's like,
I got one in the back.
I got one in the back. We opened it. We were going to play it, but we didn't play it. So this is opened, but effectively new.
So then he's like, how much should I sell it to you for? And we're like, I don't know. We only see it on eBay. So he looked on eBay and he saw that the going price was like $90. So he offered us $45 for it. And
well, it was opened, and it's only $90 because it's currently out of print, and it's gonna be in print again soon. So the $90 price is gonna evaporate.
Yeah, well, we'll see when soon is too.
Yeah, I heard it's gonna be pretty soon, but who knows with these things?
We'll see.
It doesn't matter. From what I know about La Cita, it's good. It's an awesome game, but I can't say that yet until I've played it.
Even better, he started to realize, because he's going around the store showing us, like, oh, this game's good, this game's good. And every game he said, our response was, own it, played it, done with it.
Or it sucks.
Yeah. And eventually he started realizing what our tastes were. So finally, we asked him about one game, and he's like, that game will probably give you about 12 plays before you figure it out. That game will probably give you about 1 play before you figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, what did we buy? We bought La Cita.
Yep, we bought...
We bought the Goth game, which we talked about in our Gaming for Hope episode.
Yep, I'm really looking forward to playing that.
We'll give a full review of that once we solve it.
Scott got Jamba.
I got Jumbo, which is, I think, like one of the only 2-player games in the world that's going to be good. And I also got Power Grid, which is a very, very popular game. And after reading the rules, I can see why it is a very good game, but it is also not a game without its problems, I can see.
Well, like most games.
Yes.
And Scott got a little expansion that might make Battle Lore slightly less painful and stupid.
Yeah, it's basically another board for Battle Lore so that you can double the size of the game. I think that might help a lot.
I think it'll help a lot because now there's room to maneuver because the strategy in battle lore that works best is pretty much line your guys up defensively and wait. The other guy is either going to be forced to attack you in your strong position or also wait. And then it's just a question of who has the most patience.
Well, what you can do if you, instead of waiting, you can just keep manipulating your guys and rearranging them until you're in an advantageous attack position, you know? Oh, anyway. Alex got Tempest, which is a game that I had seen and known about, but I don't remember playing.
He is convinced that one of us played it with him. But
I don't remember playing it. I think I was playing another game while he played it at
I have definitely never played it, and I'm pretty sure you and him did when I was out of town for something, and you guys went to Mars.
I recognize what the game looks like, and I remember maybe being told the rules, but I don't remember any of the rules.
Maybe this is like that time when, for a long time, not just Scott, but much of the crew were absolutely convinced that I had seen some of the second Matrix movie with them.
You still haven't seen it.
Not only have I not seen the movie...
You missed the 10-minute rave orgy.
At all. But I think the reason people thought I'd seen it is that I could still make jokes about the rave orgy because, I don't know, I read the internet, so I knew all about it, and I knew not to see the movie.
It's just sort of like, for me, going to see movies at the Tinseltown in Rochester, just, all through college.
Yeah, well, you idiots went to see the Dungeons & Dragons movie, and I was the only one who said, you know what? I'm going to pass. I'm not going.
While that movie was ass, I think that was a worthwhile experience.
I just remember when you guys came back, and I was like, so, how was the movie? And Pete said, it was ass! It was terrible! And I was like, so you guys drove a half hour.
It wasn't a half hour to get there.
It takes at least 20 minutes to get there.
Wow, I forget how to get there now.
I remember the back way. You go all the way around the left of the airport.
Yeah, I remember that part, but I don't remember, the ending bit. Anyway.
The ending bit, you see it like a shining beacon miles into the distance because there's nothing else there. It's literally like you take highways through the open wilderness around an airport and there's no lights or anything. And then in the distance, there's this shining beacon, and it's the only lit up thing, and it's this big movie theater.
Yeah, if we had a Tinseltown, I would probably go to the movies still. But because all our movie theaters suck, I'm not going.
Well, we have some good movie theaters, but they're down in Manhattan.
Yep, and I'm not going because I need to get home and do this show.
Yeah, well, anytime I'm there on a weekend, I tend to just, if there's a good movie, I'll go see it.
All right.
I mean, we saw Paprika down there.
Yeah, that was a movie worth seeing.
Right. So in the news, the Smash Brothers game coming out on the Wii, because we need a new game for the Wii. The best game on the Wii right now is, crap, I haven't even played any games in a while.
I haven't used the Wii in probably over a month at all. I mean, maybe I'll beat that Super Paper Mario this week or the next week, but I
couldn't even make my joke.
I haven't really been playing video games at all. I even stopped playing Pokemons for since I turned it on the other day because everyone was at the dim sum had Pokemon, but I turned it on and the last journal entry was May 22nd.
Wow.
That's the last time I actually really played the Pokemon.
Actually, I was playing some Phoenix Wright on the train, and I can now beat Bionic Commando in 24 minutes without dying.
You should go for the world record.
Might be a little more than that, but under a half hour, I can beat the game.
All right.
It's kind of scary, because I play that game more than I play... You know what? That's the best game on the Wii right now.
It's not on the Wii.
Because I can't do the joke. The last time I made the joke, I said Soul Calibur 2, because that was the thing I played on the Wii the most, and that's still the thing I've played on the Wii the most. In fact...
I think the Everybody Votes channel is still the best game on the Wii.
Yeah, but I haven't even played that in a while. I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago I looked, and there were 10 new things, and I hadn't voted on any of them, and...
Yep.
I just gave up.
Me too.
It's not worth it to boot the Wii. In the time it takes to boot the Wii, the Mac is already booted, and I'm already watching someone get hit in the nuts on YouTube.
Yep. So, what's your news?
All right, so anyway, this game's coming out. A game for the Wii. And a lot of people have been wondering how it is going to be controlled. Because the Wii has, the innovative controller with the motion sensing, but also has the classic controller. It also has the GameCube. You can just plug a GameCube controller in. And a lot of people really wondered, was this game going to use the Wii stuff? Was the game going to be GameCube classic? Because when they first announced the game, before Wii's even existed, before anyone had even seen a Wii, people were debating, and there was a rumor that the Smash Brothers game on the Wii was just going to use the GameCube controller, and that the GameCube controller was going to be like the standard controller for any game on the Wii that didn't use the special stuff.
Yeah, well, Smash Brothers is one of those games where if they change, like, you think, well, how could you make a Smash Brothers game using the Wiimote intuitively? Well, if you kept with the current Smash Brothers idiom, of a side view, platforming, fighting, knock the other guy off the edge game, the Wiimote, it's like you could use some gestures for some of the moves, but that's really it. You would have to change the game into some sort of maybe first person or third quarter kind of, still knock the guy off the edge fighting game, but it wouldn't be like the previous Smash Brothers.
I mean, I can picture ways of controlling a game like Smash Brothers with the Wiimote straight up, and I think it could be interesting, but it really wouldn't be Smash Brothers anymore. And I think a lot of people would just, I mean, look, if they did something weird like that, it'd be the same thing that happened with Wario. People freaking loved WarioWare for the GameCube because it was just amazing multiplayer, awesome. And when they put it on the Wii, they tried to use the Wii stuff, and they didn't seem to understand what made WarioWare good and popular. And as a result, they made a really shit game. If they did that with Smash Brothers, people would try to play it, go, what the hell is this? And they'd go back to playing the original Smash Brothers.
Yeah, well, it seems that they definitely, the new Smash Brothers Brawl is, if you look at all the screenshots, and there are some, is still the same old side view, platforming, fighting, knock the guy off the edge game.
And as far as the internet has reported, there are 4 possible control schemes, all of which should theoretically be equal. You can either hold your Wiimote sideways, hold the Wiimote up with the little nunchuck, use the classic controller, or use the GameCube controller.
I think the thing is, I'm wondering, what are people going to do in tournaments? Because even if the Wiimote nunchuck method is, a good method, it's not moving the Wiimote around with the motion sensor.
I don't think that's going to be how you move.
Well, no, I'm not saying not how you move, but, moving the Wiimote physically with your hand to control anything is not as precise as pushing a button. And in a game like Smash Brothers, winning is all about having lots of precision. You want to have the exact right move at the exact nanosecond, So having very precise moves and timing with the sort of, loose, imprecise control of this motion sensing Wiimote I think you're gonna be at a disadvantage.
Well, you see, this is where I'm thinking. I don't think, even if you use the setup where you hold the nunchuck and the Wiimote, I don't think the motion sensing is going to be a part of it. Or if it is, it's going to be incredibly minor. Like just activate shield if it's moving or something. Because my bet is that they just want it that way because you can use all the buttons on your one hand to make attacks and then use the other buttons and the control stick in the other hand to move.
Oh, we'll see.
I really don't think the motion sensing will be used in any mode except possibly the just holding it sideways, because in that mode, there's not enough buttons as far as I can tell.
I think they're definitely going to use it in some way, and I definitely think most people are just going to use the GameCube controller. At least hardcore people are going to use the GameCube controller so that they can have the precision that they desire.
Also, the heavy rumble.
Playing. Yes, the rumble. I hope it better rumble.
The GameCube controller, to this day, just has the best rumble of any controller I've ever used.
Yeah, its rumble is amazing.
I mean, remember the PlayStation DualShock? It's like buzz, buzz, and it was always kind of the same buzz. But yet the GameCube was just, it had such control that a lot of games, like you're idling your engine, and the controller would just kind of idle a little bit. Just this very subtle. But that might have also just been the way the developers chose to use rumble.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I don't know how well the Xbox 360 controller rumbles. Because I don't know either. Rumble. I mean, if it doesn't rumble, people would have said something. It definitely rumbles.
Maybe they did. We don't really pay attention. Even though, if I had free time, I'd own an Xbox 360 already.
Yep.
But,
all right, so Smash Brothers Brawl, going to have multiple control schemes. Who knows which one will win out.
Yeah, all this really says to me is Nintendo has given up one more opportunity to fuck this up.
Yep.
There aren't many opportunities left.
So yesterday I talked about Safari being for Windows, which was announced at the Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference.
I couldn't really express how little I cared, sadly.
Yes, me either. But something else was announced at the Worldwide Developer Conference.
Ooh.
John Carmack was there.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, remember he showed off Doom 3 on the Mac at a similar thing many moons ago, like when the GeForce 3 came out.
Yes, Doom 3.
Like the GeForce 3 and Doom 3 were both shown for the first time at the same time on a Mac at, I think, a Worldwide Developers Conference, though I'm not sure, by John Carmack. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad Doom 3 was such a great game.
oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much
The
better.
world would be totally different without Doom 3.
It was so much better than, those other Doom games that I guess some people said might have been a little revolutionary in terms of gameplay.
So much better than those Half-Life games, which completely dominated all FPSs forever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really wanted to stumble around in the dark with a flashlight.
Yeah, well, anyway, John Carmack showed off his new technology, which is called id Tech 5. Basically, they've been making an engine in secret. And he showed off like something they threw together in like 10 days on this new engine. And it looked pretty good. Basically, the thing that he's promoting about this new game engine is that you no longer have the problem of, bajillions and bajillions and bajillions of gigabytes of textures. You can now handle all that without, I guess, having bajillions and gigabytes of memory. I don't know. He wasn't very specific.
Does it not use textures? Does it store textures differently?
I don't know.
Does it
didn't say.
Does it generate? Okay,
he just gave a little marketing bit. But anyway, the thing that he's really going after is that people who are creating content, like levels and maps and models and things, can change things on the pixel level with great ease. So, in theory, with this new engine of his, artists will be able to make incredibly awesome game content with greater ease than ever before.
If that is actually true, I'm kind of excited because I gotta say, I used to fiddle around a lot with Doom, and I made a lot of Doom levels and Doom modifications and all sorts of like weapon packs and whatever just for fun, and I really enjoyed it. And it wasn't that hard, and obviously I was limited by the Doom engine, which wasn't really the greatest, most stellar thing out there, but it was very easy to understand it and to manipulate it to the fullest that it could be used. I decided when, Half-Life and Quake and all those things were coming out that I wanted to continue my hobby. And I realized that my hobby had become exponentially more difficult and tedious and terrible, and I gave up, and I never bothered making levels for anything ever again.
I mean, it's like if I have AutoCAD or like even 3D Studio Max or any of those kinds of programs, I actually kind of know how to use those. And while I'm not the greatest at 3D art, I can actually make, or Blender even, I can make 3D models of things with relative ease. I don't make something that looks really pretty, but I can make something. The programs that you use to make, say, Half-Life levels are just nightmarishly difficult to use.
Nightmare difficulty.
Yes, for absolutely no reason. Why can't I just use AutoCAD to make a Half-Life 2 level? I could make one in like a day. Just because AutoCAD is actually easy to use once you learn how the hell it works.
Well, the main reason is, like in Half-Life 1 at least, how maps are actually constructed. We're not going to talk about it, but...
So you make a thing that converts a sensible, reasonable 3D model created by a human being into your whacked up, crazy level format.
That's not so trivial or so easy, especially back then when computers were slow.
Yeah. But regardless, it sucks to make levels and things for games.
Also, the fact that much of it is scripting and not actually designing the 3D part.
Yeah, and John Carmack thinks he's going to solve that with his new engine, which looks pretty good.
Well, John Carmack tends to oscillate between genius and idiot, so I'm not sure which side of the scale he's on right now.
Yeah, but this engine is going to be on the PC, the 360, and the PS3, and I guess the Mac also.
Why isn't it on the Wii?
Cry because the Wii can't do it. But
man, as much as I love Nintendo, I feel like Dave and Joel here just ragging on the Wii at every opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep ragging on it until it has a game, which I know it will one day. But we're gonna have to wait like 6 to 12 months, and then the Wii will be like, oh, all right, now the Wii is on the DS level. It's just a matter of time. I'm not, too worried about it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only reason the DS didn't feel that way to me when I had it is that I never actually played Mario 64. So I ended up playing Mario 64, and by the time I beat Mario 64, Wii games came out. Or, God, not Wii games, DS games.
Yep. But
I'm not that bad at Mario.
The only thing that I'm weirded out about this engine here, right, is that pretty much anytime anyone's ever made a game engine, like I've read multiple interviews with game engine makers, and they say that when they make a new game engine, they always simultaneously make a game, because how else would you know how good the engine is if you weren't trying to make a game on it? And when the act of making the game for the engine, whether it's a good game or not, the act of doing that, reveals all the problems in your engine as you go through and actually try to make a game on it. And is Carmack making a game on this or not? He didn't say he was.
Maybe he's making not really a game, but just a test case internally to test the engine. I don't know. I mean, it's not like
But unless you make a full game, you're not really going to get the full effect.
But at the same time, I mean, depending on your development cycle, I wonder how important that is in the grand scheme compared to spending the money to make a game, considering how well Doom 3 did.
Yes, but...
Yet the Doom 3 engine was fairly robust.
But who's using the Doom 3 engine? How many people bought it?
A lot of people said they were going to, and I don't know what came of that.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing, is that if your game... You need a game to come out on the engine that blows everyone away so that gamers will buy that game. Because in order to sell mods for a game, you have to get gamers to buy the original game in the first place. And even if your engine is the most amazing and easiest to create mods and content for in the whole world, if gamers don't have the engine on their computers, they're not going to go out and buy your game just to get the mod. It's like the game, they have to have the game first, and then once they have the game, then they'll get all sorts of mods for it. And right now, Half-Life 2 in Steam is the winner. And they're going to have to come out with some pretty fucking badass game for this engine in order to push it.
Yeah, I guess we just don't know enough information, so there's not really much we can say.
No. I can say, though, one small bit is I heard a rumor, which is probably true, that Capcom is going to be putting stuff out on Steam. That's the high quality.
Things of the day. So, in the trend of having friends give us things of the day, because otherwise we just do whatever's on the top of Dig, our dear friend Ido showed me this a while ago, and it's finally a Tuesday where I can talk about it. Monkeys, at least bonobos, which are some of my favorite kinds of monkeys, are smarter than a lot of people seem to give them credit for.
I don't know. I knew they were smart, one of the smartest types of monkeys.
Well, would you have expected that they'd be smart enough to be pretty good at Ms. Pac-Man?
You just got to move a stick around. They could definitely do that. They move their banana and their own sticks around plenty.
But at the same time, would you think they'd be smart enough to not only play Ms. Pac-Man reasonably well, but to figure out to avoid the ghosts, and then to figure out that the powered pellets turn the ghost blue, and then to figure out that you can eat the blue ghost, but not the non-blue ghosts?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have any sort of cognition, you could definitely tell right away that your stick is controlling the Pac-Man. And then from there, the other stuff sort of follows. It's a pretty intuitive game, and the colors are very contrasting, so you don't need, like, ultra awesome vision to sort of figure it out. I mean,
well, at the
thing
same time,
is, did they figure out, like, how to get higher score? And, did they wait for all the ghosts and then eat them all? Or are they, trying to eat all the pellets? Are they using the warps on the left and the right strategically?
I think the point is more that a non-human is able to figure out the generic general endgame or goal of a video game.
Most humans can barely even play Pac-Man that well, so...
Well, actually, it wasn't Pac-Man, it's Ms. Pac-Man, which is... I much prefer it.
Yeah, I do as well, but I must say, these bonobos, I don't think it's fair to say they play Pac-Man as well as a human. I think they play Pac-Man better than most humans. Most humans can't play Pac-Man for crap. They don't know what the hell to do.
I just watched the video. It's really interesting to watch this monkey get really into this game and get very frustrated when he gets eaten.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating when you get eaten, because Pac-Man is annoying. God, Pac-Mans. Especially in the first Pac-Man. I hate it when I get eaten in that the most.
Man, I still have a burning desire. That's the best game on the Wii, I really think.
All right. So, Rim knows from trying to eat there was a time when Rim was trying to eat many proteins. Like more.
I'm still trying to. I force myself to eat protein constantly. More protein than I would otherwise want to eat.
And one way to do this is to eat those nasty protein bars.
Yeah, for some reason, anything that ever claims to be a protein supplement that isn't just meat in and of itself, or possibly nuts, tastes like the inside of an asshole.
Protein is not tasty. Only fat and sugar are tasty.
Protein is tasty. Well, meat is tasty, and meat has a lot of protein in it.
Yes, but meat. meat is not tasty because of the protein. Meat is tasty because of the fat.
But yet the meat does not taste like ass, while the protein bar tastes like ass. Why can't I have a meat candy bar? I know you're going to say jerky, but I can't eat that much jerky in one day or I start to feel a little ill.
Yeah. Anyway, and
I learned
also,
this when I ate a bunch of jerky that I found a few days ago.
and also, Rim and other people tend to really be liking the Red Bull these days. You like the Red Bull?
I drink about one Red Bull a day on average.
I think
now.
that's too many, but my boss also drinks a Red Bull a day or more.
It's kind of bad because Red Bull does have a very noticeable effect on my alertness and awakeness and ability to concentrate and all those things. And I get that, like, I start feeling like if I'm playing Counter-Strike that I should drink a Red Bull right before.
Well, funny you should say that because this company here has come out with a new product called Headshot, as in the gamer energy bar. It is a candy bar called Headshot with a picture of a sniper crosshair on it. And it is a guarana infused energy bar. It's a candy bar, but it's got the Red Bull stuff in it. And
Well, which Red does it have glucose in it?
I don't know.
As
it doesn't
opposed
have
to-
the full ingredients, but it has guarana.
That's just kind of like caffeine.
Yeah. And they say it tastes good. Well,
I point out that the guy who invented that cocaine drink also said that it tasted good.
that is why I'm saying they said it.
However,
tastes
I
good.
also point out that when that guy was on TV, it might have been on the Daily Show or something, I don't remember, and he goes to, like, he drinks his own drink, he winces a little bit. So,
Yeah, so if anyone out there goes to like a LAN party or some sort of game center and you see the Headshot candy energy bar, try one out and tell us how it goes.
yeah, I'm interested, but at the same time, I'd rather just drink a Red Bull than eat any sort of energy bar because I don't trust that at all.
Yeah, but this might be good because if we start having, it seems like every energy thing is always a beverage. Like there's big action going on in the beverages, and there's not so much action going on in the foods.
You know what I bet the main reason is? It is very easy to mix a Red Bull with vodka. It is not so easy to mix an energy bar with vodka.
You just put whipped cream on it.
It's not going to be good.
Whipped cream. Okay, that's the end of things of the day.
All right. So we're kind of probably be a little bit brief about this just because we haven't played the game a lot, but at the same time, I don't see us playing it much anytime soon. And I really want to at least talk about our experiences thus far before we forget.
Yes. So,
Last time I was in Rochester, many moons ago, I picked up Twilight Struggle.
yeah, basically, this is a game that is a two-player Cold War strategy simulation game. And I had seen the old guys at Moz play it a lot, and it was like one of their most favorite games. And it was, the sort of game that a crazy old war gamer would like. I could tell from looking at it. But because it was the sort of game a crazy old war gamer would like, I was sort of turned off to it. But it began over time. I sort of warmed up to it, thinking, hey, maybe that is the two-player game that's actually good, because we really need two-player games.
Well, when I was in Rochester, I happened to see it there, and I've been 50-50 on buying it if I ever saw it anyway.
Yep.
So I see it, and I think, from the side, all right, time to make this 50-50 arbitrary decision as to whether or not I'm going to spend $65. What the?
It is an expensive game.
It cost the same as Zelda 2 when it came out.
Yeah, it's
Well, actually, I think I paid $70 for Zelda 2, so it's not that bad,
Yeah.
but still.
Yeah, I've noticed that the war games and the sort of serious historical games cost a lot more money. Like, German games cost like $40, and like American games cost like $10. But the super war games, that always cost a lot of money. They're super expensive. Mostly because they come with big maps and all sorts of like detailed text and giant rule books with lots of words and lots of cards and lots of bits and stuff that where a German game, it comes with a lot of wooden cubes, but they're just colored cubes, and this comes with like little chits with text on them and different text on each and every one, and that's kind of complicated printing going on.
But so then I pull the box out and I see the cover art, and the cover art is really nice. I really like the cover art to this game.
It is pretty cool.
I don't think they could have had better art at all. It's perfect. It is definitely a gestalt of what this game is.
Yep.
So pretty much that sold me on it, and I bought it.
It's also rated very highly on Board Game Geek. It's 8.3 out of 10, which on Board Game Geek is huge. That's like that means that people love this game.
Yep. Now, I like the game quite a bit more than Scott and Alex do.
Yeah.
But
I think Alex actually likes it a little bit less than me. Like, I don't like the game so much as a game, but sort of playing it is fun for a while, depending on how it goes.
The continuum is, I'm slightly positive on it, Scott is neutral, and Alex is slightly sour on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to sweeten.
I don't think he's going to sweeten either.
Now, the game is ostensibly a simulation of the Cold War, given the idea that all of the ideologies and all of the theories and all of the political ideas from the Cold War are actually true, meaning domino theory is real and the world really did work that way, all that stuff.
Yep.
So it's kind of like taking the Cold War at face value, being in that time period, believing these things to be true. It tries to simulate not so much the historical reality of the Cold War, but the kinds of decision making and the kinds of feelings and the tension and the brinksmanship of the Cold War. And it also tries to be an asymmetric, good two-player game. And I'm not sure if it succeeded. I really am not sure how I feel about this game.
Yeah, basically the way the game works is you have these cards, and there's there's the early cards, which are sort of the cards that represent events that happened early in the Cold War, the middle cards that represent events that happened in the middle of the Cold War, and the late cards that represent events that happened late in the Cold War. And you deal out these cards to both players, and some cards are for the Soviets, and some cards are for the US, and some cards are for both. And every card has a number on it. And every card also has a historical event.
Now,
And
basically,
you might get the other guy's cards. So if I'm the US, I might have a fistful of Russia cards. Who knows?
the second game of this I played, the third game, whatever, the one game I played with Alex, I drew all Russia cards.
And you were the US.
And Alex drew all Russia cards.
Not so good for the US.
And it was awesome.
Yeah. So, but on your turn, what you do is you take a certain number of you take turns playing cards, and when you play a card, you can either play it for the event that's on it, or you can play it to just do stuff on the board based on the numbers. So if it has a number like 4, you can do 4 things on the move guys around the board and stuff.
Yeah, the
like
cards
that.
are numbered 1 through 4, and generally the higher the number, the better the event. So it's definitely a trade-off. And the number is just how much you get to influence the board. We're not really going to talk about the details of this game because it's really complicated.
You basically want to move numbers around the board to take over more countries in different areas. Like, I have the majority of the spots in Europe. That's more points for me. And I have more places in, Asia conquered. And you're just increasing influence and on different countries and things.
Yeah, and inciting coups in places and bringing DEFCON down, engaging in military actions and all sorts of stuff, all sorts of Cold War stuff.
But basically what you're doing is you're playing cards either to make historical events happen, which what happens is written on the card, or to just do standard moves. And I can even use the other guy's cards. Of course, you're going to have to. If you draw Soviet cards and you're the US, you would play, say, a Soviet card, and I would use the number 2 to do 2 things, but because I played the Soviets card and I'm the US, the event still happens.
Well, see, to actually explain what Scott, how that actually works is if you play a card that has your own event on it, so I'm the US and I play a card with the US, I have to choose to either do the number or the event. I don't get both. But if I play my opponent's card for the number on it, I guess I could play it for the event, but you wouldn't want to because they're always bad. Yep. Always for you, and always good for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Then you play it, you get the number, but the event happens no matter what, and it happens immediately. So you kind of get this game where you have a set of cards and events. So you know to what extent you can influence the game, and what things are on the horizon as far as you can plan for. But at the same time, maybe you'll have to play a card with the number 3 because you really need to do those 3 actions somewhere. And you can take the calculated risk of allowing your opponent's action to happen. Like, you can plan for that event and act accordingly. But at the same time, there's also the other player who has their own hand of cards. And you have to kind of predict what they're going to do and try to figure out what cards they might be holding based on the actions they're taking, based on the actions you're taking. Which cup is poisoned? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the game is, it seems like in advanced play, in order to win, if the other guy knows what the cards are in the deck, like he's studied all the cards or he's played it so many times that he knows what most of the important cards are or what all the cards are, they're going to be at a significant advantage regardless of their strategy because they'll be like, aha, I see what he just did there. He's probably got this card, so I'll do this to foil him. And that's a big part of the game.
Yep. I mean, I think part of the reason that it's hard to say if we like this game or not is that I get the sense that the majority of the good part of the game can only be had between two experienced players of the game. Because it's kind of like if you're playing chess with an idiot, where say you set up some sort of complicated, I'll put this piece out, but it's actually a feint, and you have this whole layered plan of, a smart player wouldn't do this because blah, so you plan on the other person being smart, but if someone's never played the game before, you might bluff or do something interesting, and they won't even see it, and they'll just kind of blunder through the game, and as a result, all the strategic planning just kind of goes to hell, and the game's not fun anymore.
Yep.
And between two novice players, you haven't played the game enough, so you can't really formulate a real good strategy. You can't really bluff effectively because you can't know if your opponent would even recognize what you were doing at all, bluffing or not bluffing. And the game doesn't flow too well. It also didn't help that Scott didn't look at the list of cards, so we often didn't know what cards were coming up when.
Well, it's just that
you're putting all your influence in Africa, and then eventually I point out that Africa can't be scored until the mid-game.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But
but
you're like, yeah, I took over Egypt. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. You can have it.
I think Egypt's actually Middle East in that game. I'm not sure.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter either. The main problem I have with the game is that at least for us, who are people who don't know all the cards and haven't studied the game extensively and such, it seems like whether you do well or poorly depends almost entirely on who gets what cards. If I am the U.S. and I draw a fistful of U.S. cards, I'm going to get way ahead, even if I try to fuck up. It seems like no matter what I do...
While I thought that, the game has a very interesting mechanic where the score is 0, and the score can go toward the U.S. or toward Russia. I think this is really cool. So if I score 5 points, it moves 5 toward Russian victory. And if Scott scores 3, it moves 3 toward U.S. victory. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points on their side, whoever has the marker on their side anywhere wins. Also, there's a fun mechanic where if you get the marker all the way to the end of your side, the game ends immediately, and you immediately win no matter what.
Yep.
And the first game we played, that's how the U.S. won. And in the second game, when I played with Alex, we had this horrible situation where every single card benefited him and screwed me. And he had like 15 points after the first couple rounds, and I had almost nothing on the board, and I was totally fucked. It seems like they chose the number of points to absolute victory very well. Because since it's an asymmetric game, and there's a limited number of cards, and it's a known quantity of cards, the game tends to even itself out. And Alex did really well and started controlling everything and got all these points. But then the tide turned because now there's only good cards for me left in the deck for a while. And it's more a matter of you have to manage your cards to make the most out of what you've got. And no matter how good a run of luck you have, I don't think there are many runs of luck that will just win you the game.
Yeah, but it does seem like, you're doing well depends a great deal more on the cards rather than anything else.
Like I just said, I really don't think so. I think the game is set to where it balances out in the end almost no matter what, and it's more a matter of how you use the cards you get and how you plan. Like, say I have the crap hand. My game now is not, win or do... My game now, until I get better cards, is how do I control this situation? How do I put this bad situation to be as little harm to me as possible? How do I mitigate the damage and hold out until my string of luck comes?
Yes, well, I think what it is also is that, certain events on certain cards are more or less powerful depending on the current situation in the game.
Yeah.
Like you have a card where right now this card doesn't do much for you, but if you had the card, say, a turn ago, you could have kicked some ass with it. And... it's not really up to you whether you get this card last turn or this turn. So it's sort of obvious that, okay, this turn, this card doesn't do much for me, so I'll use it for the number. And, because it's not the event isn't so useful for me. Or, this card would be really good for Rim if it happened now, so I'll space race this one. And, this card is usually good for Rim, but right now it's not so good. It doesn't help him as much as it normally could, so I'll let him use this one right now so it doesn't get used later when it's more dangerous.
I don't know. While the game is not the greatest game, I really think you're underestimating the tactical depth that's in there.
See, but most of that tactical depth is you and the other guy have to know what all the freaking cards are.
Yeah, well, the other interesting thing is that if you know about the Cold War, the game is pretty intuitive because you kind of know like what parts of the world were unstable generally when and what kinds of things happen when, and you can really plan ahead a lot better. And Scott really didn't know much about the Cold War, so he didn't really... he didn't take advantage of the fact that France could very easily sway toward communism in the early game and things like that.
Yeah, it's because, I know a lot of people out there, they really like those games that have real history. Like, we were playing Railroad Tycoon at Moz, and this one guy was actually he was more interested in, what kind of train was drawn on the level up card and, the history of that kind of train engine than the actual game that was going on. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm perfectly happy playing a game if it's historically inaccurate and just aliens and space monsters. I really don't care. The theme is nice to look at and nice to maybe add some role-playing type fun, Yar, the Cold War, you're evil Russians, something, something, blah. But I really don't care about the history. I care about the strategy of the game itself and the winning and the losing.
Here's the other thing. The card list was there, and even without the card list, you didn't plan ahead. When we played the game, you pretty much played each turn as though it were an independent thing in and of itself, and there was absolutely no forward planning at all.
Well, that's also because it seems like when I play the game, even if I'm trying to think of forward planning, it's I look at my hand and I look at the board, and it seems like the best plan, long-term or short-term, is to use the cards in my hand in the best way possible.
Well, there's no best way possible because you ops, you can put influence somewhere on the board. You can put the influences just about anywhere. Where are you going to put them? You got to plan ahead. And the 2 times I played the game, I planned where I was going to expand to a good 2 turns in advance, and I only altered that if the situation absolutely forced me to because I'd made a mistake. And while Alex completely dominated me for the early part of the game with that run of luck, by the end of that, while he had a lot of victory points, I controlled every single part of the board, and if the game had continued, I really think I was going to win. However, I conceded defeat because here's my real gripe about the game. I really think you underestimate the tactics, and I think you give the game less credit than is due, though I'm not saying that the game deserves great amounts of credit, because the real problem is quite simply that this game should be a video game. As a board game, it's crap, because as a result, a lot of the game mechanics that could be interesting are really dumbed down and simplified to be able to be done with counters and markers and dice. And you spend so much time just manipulating physically all these pieces all over and keeping track of all these numbers. If the game were a PC game, I'd probably play it a lot, but the fact that I have to do all this constantly on my own, and if I make any mistake, the game's fucked and there's no way to fix it and you just have to quit.
Because of all these cards, there are cards that come out and sort of have lasting effects on the game, and you have to remember those effects, and doing one thing makes 3 different exceptions to the rules count. And if you look at the instruction book, it's labeled 5.1, 5.1.1, 5.1.2. Each rule is a separate numbered item in this book, and it goes on for it's a big book with lots and lots of these rules in it, and each one is important. And if you forget just one, you've ruined the entire game, and it's very difficult unless you play very slowly and methodically to make sure that you do everything perfectly and manipulate every piece without messing up.
I just want to point out that of all the times we've played this game, Rim screwed the game up 0 times.
You screwed the game up a little bit.
Nah.
Yeah.
And because, you see, the thing that you accused me of screwing up, how come the exact same thing happened to you when you played against Alex?
It was a different thing that happened. You not drawing enough cards.
The only times the game screwed up were games that Scott was involved in.
Anyway,
but
the point is...
The real problem with the game, aside from that, is that it tries to seem like the one cool thing is that nuclear war is not the goal. Nuclear war immediately ends the game, and whoever caused the nuclear war to happen loses. But the game doesn't have any brinksmanship. There's almost no reason to go toward nuclear war. There's no tension in the game. It's so like methodical and calculating the way you play that you never really get the sense that you're actually anywhere close to a nuclear war. And in fact, you can only really have a nuclear war if you are stupid and you just stupidly make a mistake.
Yeah, it seems like I like when games have many different avenues to victory. Like, Civilization, you can, if you play Civ 3 or Civ 4, you can win by war, by a space shuttle, by culture, by all sorts of things, right? In this game, you can win by making the other guy nuclear war, victory points, all sorts of conquering all of Europe. Many different ways to win. But most of those ways to win are sort of these flukes that don't really happen unless someone really screws up.
Actually, I think they can all happen pretty readily, except for the nuclear war one.
I don't know.
Nuclear war is the only one that can really happen by accident.
Yeah. But it seems like most of the game is concentrated on the victory points, and the rest is sort of like these side, special case
Well, like I
things.
was saying, the game should be this kind of brinksmanship game, but there's no real brinksmanship in the game because the only stakes involved in brinksmanship at all, because coups kind of suck, are simply, oh no, I have to engage in a military action because Scott engaged in a military action. Otherwise, I'll lose a point or two. And oh no, the DEFCON went down to 3. Whoop-de shit.
Yeah, it's just going to go back up again next
Yeah,
year.
I mean, it got down to 2 a couple times, and there was no fear. There was no, are you going to, because you can't screw that up unless you're really dumb or not paying attention. And in the end, I like the game more than Scott and Alex, but I don't have time to play it, and I don't think I'm ever going to really pick it up again.
Yeah, I mean, not only is the game not so amazing, but you play it with 2 people. It takes forever to set it up. You have to read this book, you have to put exactly this number of pieces in these places, and then you have to...
The board is really flimsy.
Yeah, the board, I know the Moz guys, they have this big piece of clear plastic they put on top of the board, and that helps out a lot because the board, it kind of bends and and you're only putting these little tiny pieces of cardboard on it. So they don't weigh the board down, so it never gets flat.
Also, that's the easiest way to screw up the game. If you just sneeze, it's over. You can't fix that.
Yep. And there's just so many, I don't know. Yeah, it really needs to be a video game.
Well, it's just like I said, the game has to be a video game or else it's just not worth it.
Yeah, when you play Civilization 2 and you double-click on a city, right? And you see, all the different meters with different numbers on them, like you're making this many grain, this many this, and all these things the game sort of calculates for you, and you just look at to get the, this visual aid to show you what's going on. In this game, all that sort of level of complexity is there, but you're managing it with your hands and math in your head, and it's not visually there for you all the time.
Well, I mean, the game takes a long time to play, but if I didn't have to manipulate, I looked at all the time I spend manipulating versus the time I spend taking my turn, you could knock off a game of this in less than an hour if it was a video game.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, it takes several hours to actually play the game with the pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it's like deciding what to do takes 2 seconds. The part that takes a long time is, okay, I decided what I'm going to do. Now I got to roll this dice. Now I got to...
Die.
Now I got to... No, sometimes you roll dice.
You said you only roll die in that game. You roll 1 die.
Whatever.
And besides, you said roll this dice.
Anyway, then you got to...
You should have said these dice.
Then you got to do some math.
Mr. Perry to be kind of
No, he can go fuck himself. Then you got to do. Then you got to do some math. Then you got to, take a piece of cardboard off the board, put another piece of cardboard on the board, then flip those pieces of cardboard over, and then look at neighboring pieces of cardboard that all look the same and have little tiny numbers that are different, and that it takes forever. All I want to do when I play a game is spend all my time making decisions, and that's all I should have to do. I shouldn't have to do much more than that.
Now, granted, the game is still easily 2 or 3 times better than Battle Lore. So, as a 2-player game, if you need a 2-player game...
I kind of like Battle Lore.
I can't stand Battle Lore. It's drivel. I'm sorry.
You suck.
The game is just, there's no substance to it whatsoever.
Now, this game just pretends to have substance.
No, this game has a lot more tactical depth than you give it credit for.
No, I don't think so. I think all the tactical depth is just, know what the cards are.
No, it's still knowing what the cards are.
It's
just
a game of knowledge more than it's a game of tactics.
Because once you know the cards and your opponent knows the cards, it becomes a game of bluffing and second guessing and planning ahead, and it's still a strategic game.
Nah, I don't think so.
In fact, if the game were easier and quicker to play, I'd play it a lot more because I do enjoy it. Like I said, I have a somewhat positive view of it.
Yeah, you do. I disagree.
Yeah, well, if you want to play a really simple, crappy, entirely non-skill-based game, then I guess Battlelore is for you.
Battlelore, I think, is skill-based, and it's just the level of skill is low.
Yes, low. So low to be effectively meaningless.
No.
Battlelore is not a game of be better at it. It's a game of don't screw it up.
Eh? It's just an easy game. It's not a no-skill game.
It doesn't take much skill, I gotta say.
It's a no-skill game is like Candyland. There is no skill. Battlelore, if someone had no skill, they would lose every time. It's just the required level of skill to be the master is not much.
If all you've got left is that it doesn't have no skill, then I think I've won that debate.
It's not a no-skill game. It is a game of skill.
Fine, it is a minimal skill game. It is a mostly die-rolling luck-based game.
No, the luck isn't that big.
Yes, it is. The luck is huge
also,
in Battlelore.
There's other luck in Twilight Struggle besides just what cards you get that is bitten me multiple times.
Yeah, well, part of it is that you tended to take risks that weren't worth it.
Well, that was in like one time I played.
And
the next time I played, I would have like a huge advantage, and it'd still ruin me with the stupid dice.
Well, that's just any game that has dice is fundamentally, in most cases, pretty broken, I'd say.
Yeah, but I just kind of hate how, rolling the 1d6, and then even though you had a huge advantage, you still got beat back.
But at the same time, you still get all the military points for it, so it still works out. It's not like it's a wasted turn.
Yeah. Anyway, Twilight Struggle is the 6th most popular game on Board Game Geek.
Where's Battlelore on that list now?
I have no idea.
Because I think it's been dropping. It used to be pretty high, and then people actually played it.
It's number
what?
7.
All right. It's got some time to fall still.
So there you go.
Yeah.
We got games 6 and 7, but yeah. So, number 6 on Board Game Geek, Twilight Struggle. I'm not the biggest fan. Rim likes it a little bit, but he doesn't like to play it.
But I want it to be a video game. If I had free time, I'd say we make it into a video game just so I could play it.
Yeah. Oh, well. Definitely, I think it'd be worth it to buy this game and play it if it was cheaper.
Yeah. I might be willing to sell it to anyone out there for like $45 or $50.
Yeah, it's in like almost perfect condition. We barely played it.
It's pretty much in perfect condition.
Yeah, I mean, the pieces are punched out, and that's it.
I think the Castro card has a little bit of a nick on it.
Oh, no.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.